Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching Blair and Company. My name is Joshua Blair, and today I have the beautiful and amazing Miss Brandi Wilson. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So there's a backstory between like me and Brandi. So I met Brandi. We both went to Mallet Creek High School from 2010 to 2014. I want to say we met. What was it, sophomore year or was
Yeah,
it freshman
sophomore
year?
year. It might have been the end of freshman year, going into sophomore years when we really started. We had a lot of classes together. That's when we started talking more, like beginning of sophomore year.
Yeah, because I remember we used to have homeroom and
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, at the time. And she just I've always admired like how she presented herself and how she always like dreamed big on what she wanted to accomplish. I've always
Thank
admired
you.
that about Brandi. So I was like, when I did the Black Kings and Black Queens project, that was somebody I had in mind, like I have to interview her.
Oh, thank you.
No problem, no problem. So today we're just going to talk about a little bit about yourself, what you have going on, just a little bit about you growing up here in Charlotte, and also talk about where the focus of this interview was. I want to talk about teachers and how they've been maneuvering around COVID around this particular time. I know it's been a
It's been a
struggle.
time, I'm
So
telling you.
so for everyone who doesn't know who you are, just let people know who you are and just do a little introduction.
Okay. Well, yeah, my name is Brandi Wilson. Like Joshua said, I've been here pretty much my whole life. I went to Livingstone College in Salisbury, where I majored in biology with a minor in chemistry. I graduated there in May 2018. Yeah, May 2018. And I've been a biology teacher ever since. I started off with high school, and then now I'm settling into like the middle school realm. So I've been teaching seventh grade for a few years now. I'm also an esthetician. I got my license back in 2019. So I'm in the process of trying to branch off and just part-time do something with aesthetics or skincare. I also do makeup. And so, yeah, I'm just juggling the education piece, trying to just maintain that a part of my career, and then also building on to the brand that I want to make happen.
That's good. That's good. So, just for letting people know, tell a little bit about like your childhood growing up in Charlotte. Just be letting people know like what has your journey been from when you first got here until like what you have going on now.
All right, so I actually was born in Columbia, South Carolina. We moved here when I was in the fourth grade. So I went to University Meadows for elementary. I went to Ridge Road. I know that's a familiar not high school, excuse me, middle school in the area. And then, yeah, eventually I went to Mallet Creek. And just throughout I would say starting from early middle school on into high school, I was really into music. I love to sing. I always would participate in talent shows. I was really into fashion. I've always been into like the fashion and beauty piece. And that's probably one thing I regret is not starting or investing in myself earlier, because now you see these younger entrepreneurs who are like 14 and 15 and they already have like their whole LLC and everything taken care of. So yeah, I would definitely say I've always been into, music, fashion, and beauty, just that whole realm. And I really just kind of dove into that and participated as much as I could, especially when I got to high school. Do you remember DECA?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in DECA, and I really focused on the marketing side of that. I really had a good time doing like the talent shows and just being involved in student council. I was a homecoming queen my senior year. I just really had a full experience as far as the extracurricular side. I just took advantage of as many opportunities as I could as it related to those types of things. And so, yeah, I would say my only regret would probably be not just investing more, because, back then you're like, I'm a kid, I'm just here to be a kid. But now,
Mm-hmm.
just in retrospect, you're like, wow, if you would have like imagine starting at 15 or something,
Yeah.
what you could have been doing now. So that's probably my only thing. But other than that, yeah, I've just always been into those types of things, and I really enjoyed my childhood and teenage years going to college.
When I say Brandi while I was in high school, Brandi had the fashion down. That girl, I swear, like Brandi, like back in high school, I was like, this girl need to be on somebody's magazine. Cause I was like,
Listen, thank you. And this crazy because my mom, she'll sometimes pick on me like, do you know you used to stay up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out what you were gonna wear? But literally that was I had so much fun. And sometimes I'm like, the older I get, I find myself being more into like neutrals or basics, but still trying to like switch it up. But like when I look back at my high school, middle school pictures, I'm like, you really just went for it. But it was fun. I loved it. And that was probably one of the most favorite times I've ever had. Is just dressing up and being a kid, being a teenager. I loved it.
yes. And I was just like, this girl got it. And I was like, I remember she used to you used to have like this blonde
Yes.
like
The
hair. And I was
blonde
like,
phase was my
yes. And I was
favorite.
just like, wow. And then also with the music side, like she sung like nobody else I heard. Because
Thank
for
you.
me, because you know, back in high school, I was in choir and I was singing too. And
Right.
so I was like, this girl really got it. I was like, this girl needs to get signed. This girl need to drop an album. I used to like
Oh
really
gosh.
admire Brandi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I remember for the few times that you would, because I remember you wouldn't do all of like the talent shows, but I remember you had a voice on you too. I remember hearing you a few times.
No, remember I had sang happy birthday at your birthday dinner. Yeah.
Yes, I was just about to bring that up. I said, and I actually remember it was I want to say that was my 18th birthday. And you sung at my dinner, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. So that's what I'm saying. He's trying to be humble, but he has a voice too, y'all. He got a voice.
So moving on to so after high school and you transitioned to college, what was that life like, and what did it take you like some time to adjust to get from high school to college? So talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Okay. So that was definitely an adjustment. So I went to Livingstone College in Salisbury, which is a historically Black college, and it's also a private HBCU. So it's not like how beautiful and large Winston-Salem State is. It's not that huge, wonderful campus you have. We're just like a little small knit family on a little good piece of land. And basically the transition for me was going from, to me, I feel like in my opinion, we had a relatively large class, like in high school,
Mm-hmm.
or in general, we had a lot of diversity. And so going into an HBCU where you only see people that look like you and then you're in a smaller setting, it's kind of like, it's an even smaller world and it's easy to make an impact, but it's also easy to mess up that reputation as well. And so I found myself just after observing and especially like being there after like my freshman week and things like that, just really making a mental note to myself, like I want to make a difference, not just here or like on a campus, but just like as far as who I'm known as, because from my understanding, I really didn't go with a lot of people knowing who I was. Like you start over, you're a
Yeah.
senior in high school and then you go to college and you're just a freshman. Everybody's like, okay, who are you? So I think that was the biggest transition, is just realizing you have a lot more independence, even though I wasn't, extremely far away from home. You're not going home every night. You're not asking your mom for X, Y, and Z. So I just think transitioning into that independence and just trying to make a name for yourself in a new environment was probably one of the biggest things that I wouldn't say it was always a struggle, but it took me a while to get acclimated or used to. But I feel like, in my opinion, I started off pretty well. My freshman year, just getting involved with student government association and things like that, that really was like the footing for me to work my way up. And so the other things that I did. So yeah.
That's good. That's really good. And I remember, I don't know. So didn't you get like a full ride to go there at one point, or?
So it was a scholarship. It was two of them. It was partially academic, and then I had also a concert choir scholarship that ended
Mhm.
up covering all of that, because like I said, it was a private school. And at that point, or the year that we went in 2014, they were looking for people to come in from North Carolina and from DC specifically. And so I just ended up getting blessed that year, yes, with grant money to cover my tuition. So that was really, that was a blessing as well. School is not cheap, and that was just something that really started me off to, just set me up for a good, ride in college. So yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I can definitely relate to that because for me, I've always been like such a big advocate for HBCUs and just
Mhm.
the history behind HBCUs. And I've always been like, I wanted to be at a school where it wasn't too big, but I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want it to be too small at the same time. Like I can
Right.
make an impact, but then also be
Exactly.
able to maneuver and know what to do when it comes to just making an impact at the school.
Yeah, because
So
you don't want to be just a number.
yeah,
And I think that's what's so unique about HBCUs, even the biggest ones. It's like there's still like this family aspect of it that you just don't get everywhere else. And
hmm
so that, I would say that I definitely don't regret choosing an HBCU because I was able to just go into another side of myself or discover a new side of myself I didn't know that I had, and just a new appreciation for Black education in general. So,
yes, most definitely. And I feel like
yeah.
it's been like now I feel like it's been exploited more than ever after Beyonce's Homecoming.
Oh my gosh. When I say, and then we love some Beyonce, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's what we talk about all the time. But when I say that was probably one of the most genius marketing plan, like how she presented it, I feel like since that moment, it has totally, like she totally just capitalized what an HBCU means, what it could look like. And I feel like the interest, like for people who maybe were watching that performance and never even experienced that, like after that day, they were looking at marching band videos, looking up schools. Like
Exactly.
she really did that. That was genius. And that is why she is the queen.
Yes, yes, most definitely. After that, it just blew up, and everybody was trying to get into
Yes.
the HBCU.
Yes. I loved it. It was great. And see, just thinking about that, I'm like, I need to go back and watch because it's been a few months since I've even watched that. And I'm like, I need to go back and watch just because when it first came out, admittedly, I watched it a few
Yeah,
times.
me too.
I had to go back and look at it a few times. And I'm like, how? How did she even? And then I loved how she incorporated like actual students, actual HBCU
Yes,
students. That was amazing to me because that's like a one in a lifetime chance to get to perform with her, and she's actually looking. And it's like what a humble queen to say, "Can you come in and teach me these things, and then we can perform together?" It's like it doesn't get any better than that. So
exactly. And then also recently, she's partnering with Tiffany and Company. And
yes,
yes, and
I
then
love that
proceeds for that
Dr.
is
King
it
did
for goes to HBCUs. I thought that was really good too.
that. Me too. She really, I would say, yeah, and that's probably a whole other conversation for another day. But like Beyonce's elevation and how she's remained so relevant, and now how she's really focused on us as a people and just Black education and all that. I really appreciate what she's doing. She's doing a great job.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we was on the Beyonce tangent.
Yeah.
But anyway, so moving forward, so you eventually became Miss Livingstone. So what was that experience like?
That was so unreal. And I always say, like, that's one of my proudest moments because just the process alone, I really had to pull everything out of me I could from, because naturally, even though, when people ask, like, oh, you're shy or you're an introvert, like, naturally, I'm not the type of person who gravitates or wants that much attention.
Yeah.
But it's like for something like that, to be or to run for a premier ambassador a position, you kind of have to put yourself out there a little
hmm
step further. And so I had to really challenge myself to talk more, to present myself in a way that people who didn't know me or weren't familiar with me could get familiar in a matter of weeks. And so
Yeah.
from the pageant process to the campaign process, I really just found myself being really creative, pushing myself really hard, and just embracing, like, hey, at the end of the day, I put my best foot forward, and if it's for me, it will happen. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
this is God's will for me, it will happen. And if not, I know I can walk away, saying that I did my best. And I will say that that is still one of the happiest days of my life. Yeah, when I was announced Miss Livingstone, just because I remember in high school, I was looking through an Ebony magazine, and I had no idea what a college queen was per se. And it
Hmm.
was the Queen's edition that came out, the one that comes out every year.
Yeah.
And I was
Hmm.
asking my mom, I'm like, who are all these women in here with these crowns and these gowns on? She said, oh, they're HBCU queens. It's like how you have a regular homecoming court, but this is like your queen for the year. And I just casually was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. And that was probably, I don't know, maybe my junior year in high school. And so just to know that it was something I said so casually then, and then to blink 4 or 5 years later, and it was, my reality. And I got to travel to New Orleans. I just got to meet so many people, so many other amazing women. And it's just a one in a lifetime experience. And I really do encourage any woman young woman that goes to an HBCU, if they're into that type of thing, whether it be pageantry or a student government association, because I met a lot of women who were great SGA presidents as well, not just on the Queen side of it. But it's just an experience that is like no other. And I wouldn't have traded it for the world. That was probably one of the most enjoyable times and a great way to spend my last year in college. I got to experience and learn a lot.
That's really good. I remember just being at Winston, and I was seeing that like especially like during homecoming and seeing
Yeah.
all the different kings and queens come for like the coronations and stuff. I would see you,
That's
and
the
I'm like,
best.
I was like, that
And
girl.
you all have a great coronation process as well. And it's crazy because I don't know if you remember Ray Mitchell.
Yeah.
He's the grad advisor at Winston. He was actually the first Mr. Livingstone, or maybe the third Mr. Livingstone. At Livingstone College. And so he always comes and supports, and our courts kind of have like this cousin relationship, and we always like to go to each other's coronations because y'all have a great homecoming. I don't even talk about Winston. We all know about how Winston does homecoming, or just in general. And so that's what I'm saying. We love just supporting each other. And that was just really nice to have that kind of bond too. Like I said, just going back to that family aspect or feel of an HBCU, you just don't get that anywhere else.
Yes, most definitely. I just felt like every time like I saw you and you were promoting just Livingston, I was just almost fought back tears, because I remember back in high school you used to talk about all the time. And then even when it came to regular homecoming at Mallet Creek, and how much we pushed and
Every
pushed to
year,
make
okay?
the homecoming.
I
Remember?
started freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and I said, you know what? Senior year, I'm going to do it. And honestly, it worked out because that was like, to me, I'm like, well, I would have not wanted to win any other year than my senior year anyway. So it worked out for me. But yes, I always wanted to be, or I always loved the idea of like the court, or royal court in general. And so that was definitely a goal that just kind of progressed as I went on in my academic career. So I am really proud of that. Because I tried, okay? I can't.
Oh no, I remember. I was like, because we would be like, dang it, so and so won.
Another one goes. I'm like, oh, lost this one. I'm like, listen, if I don't win this year, I'm literally gonna cry. I don't want to cry in front of everybody, but I'm like, literally, this is it. And people are like, aren't you just gonna keep going now? It's like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. 4 times the charm.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it couldn't have happened a better way. I'm grateful.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. So once after you graduate from college and you had just that big accomplishment moving forward, so did you go straight into teaching, or what did you do after that?
All right, so I graduated May 2018, and I literally started teaching August. So I went straight into teaching. I kind of had the summer to, get back home and get settled and stuff. And then I went straight into the school year. And that was an experience of itself because I was 22 at the time and I was teaching high school students. And so being that young and being a high school teacher, you're teaching like 17 to 18-year-olds. I was teaching seniors specifically. I literally had actually, I don't know if you remember Isra,
Yeah.
but her younger brother was one of my students, and he was like, I think I remember seeing you at my sister's graduation, and then that put into perspective for everybody how old I was.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like the classroom respect just kind of went out
Oh
the
wow.
window. Like, oh, she's basically our age. And I'm like, no, I'm not basically. I'm a
Exactly.
little bit older, right? So that was interesting. My first year, my only year teaching high school was my first year coming out of college.
Okay. And what subject did you teach?
That year I had a plate full. I was teaching honors biology, forensic science, and physical science, and they were split up by semester. And so that was challenging just because being a biology major, um, you get a lot of biology like those last few years, and then I kind of had to step back and kind of like reteach myself some chemistry. I mean, not chemistry, excuse me, physical science,
Mm-hmm.
because that involved more math naturally. So that was a challenge. Sometimes I found myself staying up a little later trying to just be confident in those concepts because you don't really realize, like when you're the student, you just come to class and you're the one taking notes, but it's like when you have to go up there and present the information, it's like you don't want to sound unsure because they
Yeah.
can really, catch on to that. So I would say that was a challenge, just having three different subjects. Forensic science, actually, though, I had a lot of fun with just because I was able to involve like law and order. I really involved like the TV aspect of it. And then it was nice doing like labs, fingerprints, things like that. So, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say, of course, naturally, my favorite thing was teaching the biology portion.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So moving forward, are you still teaching science or like?
Yes. So I'm
Okay.
still teaching science, but instead of all three of those, I'm just teaching science in general for seventh grade.
Oh, okay. So it's a little. So what's the difference in?
So the difference in that is I'm basically teaching a little bit of biology. I have some environmental science we go through. We talk about like weather, pollution, things like that. I touch on genetics. And then I think their last unit, what we do for the year is like kind of like a physical science piece of it too. It's basically like they're getting a little bit of everything to
Mm-hmm.
prepare them for eighth grade. So I'm still kind of teaching everything, but it's just condensed information that's broken down into units for the curriculum. So it's not as bad. But what is a little difficult is dealing with 11 and 12-year-olds, because that's a battle in
Oh yeah, because
itself.
they starting to hit puberty and they started up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
some days I'm like, I'm dealing with more hormones than I am with what's in the textbook. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to get on day to day. But yeah, it's interesting, but I've been enjoying it. And I've been doing that for about 3 years now.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So how have you been adjusting just through COVID? For me, I've been like, so recently I've started working at Wells Fargo, and so
Mhm.
I've been working in the office, and then just recently we just been called in to work from home.
Really?
Yes.
So they
So
caught you back home. Wow. And see, that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, have you been remote this whole time? Or did you go in the office and you came back?
no,
So
we
you
were in
were
the
at the office.
office.
Wow, and they've already brought you back home. And see, that's what I think they're about to do, honestly. I think they're just waiting on enough like data or COVID cases to say that we're remote again. But I would say at the beginning of COVID, it was stressful because it's like we literally had an emergency staff meeting on a Wednesday, and on
Hmm.
Thursday we were home.
Oh
And
wow.
it's just like they just wanted us to post assignments. And this was like maybe March of 2020.
Hmm.
Like they just had us posting assignments. We just, if they turned them in, they turned them in. If they didn't, they didn't. And we kind of did that for the rest of the year. And I feel like I had maybe about 80% participation until around May. It dropped down to like 40%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was bad. And so then the next year they tried to well, in August of 2020, they tried to have like some more rules in place where you had to get counted for attendance and things like that. So then I would have students come on. That's when we had the Zoom aspect of it, the Zoom classroom. But then, you have kids sleeping. You have kids with their camera turned off or the camera's on and you see they're playing the video game in the background. And it was just a lot. And so honestly, as a teacher of younger kids, and I'm sure across the board for like for any teacher with any grade level, you almost felt like you were talking to yourself most days, and just
Hmm.
depending on how they felt, even though we weren't face to face, that energy was just kind of discouraging. Like, to be honest, it kind of had you feel like sometimes like, why are we really doing this? Because it became more so of like emotional check-ins than actually being like than to actually being able to get through the curriculum that we needed. So it was a struggle for sure.
I can only imagine. And I feel like when it comes to that specific like situation, you need the parent support and you need them to be hands on when it comes to the student.
Yes.
Because
And
if
you would
not,
be
it's just gonna fall
surprised.
apart.
Exactly. I think that's a big thing. We definitely needed more just of the parental support. But you'd be surprised. We had a lot of parents who were actually frustrated that because essentially you become the teacher because then you got your kids at home, you're working from home, you have to make sure
Exactly.
they get logged on. We would get a lot of backlash from parents and a lot of finger pointing as to why things were the way they were. And we're just like, we're literally just following orders. Like,
Yeah.
we're just here to do our job. I don't really have any further explanation other than that. And then it's like in a regular traditional school setting, you may get a call or an email from a parent from 8 to 5 p.m. But no, I would have parents calling me 7:30, 9:30 at night sometimes
Oh
about,
wow.
right. And I'm just like, I understand we're home, everybody's comfortable, but we still have to turn it off too. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
school, and there has to be some separation. So yeah, parents, you'd have some that were really supportive and who understood. And then I get it. There were some parents who were frustrated probably because of their own personal situations at home. If they had, especially for the ones that had kids home in like every grade level, like some
Yeah.
have elementary, high school, and a middle school student. That's a lot to manage. And so I get that. So everyone, it would have helped if we were able to lean on each other more, but that first initially was just kind of frustrating.
I can only imagine. For me, I would just feel like if it comes to that situation, I feel like it's not really the teacher's fault that they're in this specific situation. For me, I
Thank
just feel
you.
like if I have a student and we're trying to be successful into getting through the school year, I would at least
Right.
try to do my best or at least communicate what's going on, saying
Yeah.
like, hey, this is going on right now. How can I help and support you, making sure
Right.
that he's doing or she's doing what she needs to do in school. So
Yeah. And just being patient. Like, we just all, I think that was a period where everyone just needed some grace, which is why, like, no matter how many negative responses or angry responses I got from parents, I never reciprocated that just because you just never know. People had family members who didn't make it through the first half of that pandemic. It was just a really
mm-hmm.
emotional time. And that also translated into now how the kids act now that we're back in school. Because like they're not used to the classroom setting anymore. Like the seventh graders I had now were in fifth grade when the pandemic started. And like the seventh graders I had during the pandemic are in high school now. That's how it's just been crazy to be used
Yeah,
to.
that is crazy. That is crazy. So, what do you do just to keep them engaged and making sure that they still want to learn and like they're getting used to their new environment, being back in the classroom?
My biggest thing I've learned, especially with seventh grade, is you have to keep things relevant. And it's so funny because now that like we're the millennials and we're like the adults, you kind of start feeling old when when it's like the things I'm into, like they're not into Beyonce. Like, how we were just talking about Beyonce, we go about her all day.
Yeah.
They're not really into her. I had to go back and learn a lot of like what's in now, and a TikTok, thankfully, has done that for me. And so I would say just like in order to keep them engaged, I stay relevant and I try to bring that relevance to the classroom. So whether it's with Roblox or Minecraft, TikTok or whatever artist they're listening to, I try to incorporate that in warm-ups. I give us like mental breaks throughout the day where we can just kind of talk and make it that dialogue, because some kids just don't have that opportunity or that platform to do that at home. And so I find that the most effective thing has been building those personal relationships, because once I can see eye to eye with you, you're more willing to listen when it's important, as far as the work is concerned. So yeah, I just try to break it up, and I just try not to teach straight from the textbook. I just try to keep their minds going with different things like that, because yeah, they get bored quickly. I bribe them with TikToks. I say, look, whoever gets the high, or whatever class has the highest class average on this test, we'll do a TikTok at the end of the day.
Oh,
Or
that's
something
cute.
and it's like, just because they want to see me so bad do any type of TikTok, anything, they're like, oh yeah, we're doing it. We're studying. So it's like, you just have to keep them engaged, and incentives are big. Just keeping them engaged.
Most definitely. And I was just thinking to myself, like, especially when you have students that have so many different learning styles. And
Oh yeah.
yes, especially like
Mhm.
everybody doesn't learn the same, and then everybody
Yeah.
doesn't comprehend everything the same.
That's
So
kind of been my biggest lesson as a teacher too. Yeah, there's like visual learners. There's people who really can look at a page or like look at a description or instructions and they get it immediately. But there's just like, yeah, that whole spectrum of learners that you just have to differentiate and just make sure you're reaching everyone.
yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
So tell me, so I always ask this question every time I interview somebody new on the show.
Mhm.
So what makes you a Black queen?
Oh wow. I think what makes me a Black queen is just sticking to my morals. And I always say I am like a religious person, so I do like to say like keeping God first, sticking to my morals, and just staying true to myself um makes me a Black queen. It makes me feel like a Black queen. I feel like there's so many influences, especially with social media now, where you can get caught up in just trying to, I don't know, just kind of like just emulate or make yourself similar to others just because something may be popular. But I feel like I always have more respect and I admire women who can stick to their true selves, because there's beauty in just being unique. And so I think that's what makes me a Black queen, just sticking to what I love and not changing as the world changes.
That's perfectly said. I really agree with that. And I'm glad that you gave that perspective, because I know like everybody tries to change up their life to what's popping right now or what's the
Yeah.
trend right now, and then they
Mhm.
lose themselves into making sure get they
Yeah.
blend in with it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And I noticed that too, and it's sad. And that's probably another thing I try to tell my students as well, because there's so many other things now. Like we thought we had a lot of distractions when we were younger, but kids and like especially younger women, they're faced with so many more influences now, and like they're just such in a rush to grow up. And it's just like
Hmm.
it's really important to know that like if we're all acting the same, who's going to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's kind of like where's the value in you if we're all doing the same thing?
exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Most definitely. Well, I would like to, well, first off, where can we find you on social media for people who want to follow you, who want to check you out?
Okay, so yeah, my Instagram name really easy. It's Brandi with an I C Wilson. So yeah, Brandi C Wilson on Instagram. I'm actually starting a YouTube channel.
Oh, look at
So
you.
yeah, so that's my next little project. I've already set up the channel. I just need to start posting some content, but that'll be available soon, and that'll just be Brandi Charday, Charde, Brandi Charday. But yeah, Brandi C Wilson is where you can find me for any updates on anything else that I'll be doing.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I meant to ask you also, you being an esthetician. So, what made you? I know that you've always been into fashion and into makeup and just everything, but what made you want to get your license?
Okay, so that really came from me being in college. I initially majored in biology because I wanted to be a dermatologist. And I wanted to be a dermatologist because I had some cousins and some friends who had a lot of skin issues, and I noticed they were going to cosmetologists and not getting results. And then I also noticed after doing more research, it was because there wasn't enough representation to give the proper advice for our skin, because melanated skin just needs to be cared for differently.
Exactly.
And so that piece, I said, I want to be a dermatologist. And then by the time, this is the transparent thing, by the time I got to my senior year, just kind of just speaking on the Miss Livingstone part again, being a student ambassador and a biology major all at one time and trying to graduate just any cum laude anything, it's hard. And I felt very, not necessarily burnt out, but I knew that I couldn't really just give myself in my major as much as I wanted to. While, like, I just had a hard time balancing for a while. And
Hmm.
so, like, that dream of being an esthetician and thinking, okay, Brent, this is another, 7 years of school, technically. Be real with yourself. Are you going to waste the money or
Yeah.
are you going to finish strong and figure it out after you leave? So basically, I had graduated, and then I was doing some more research, and I came across the term esthetician, and I realized that it was basically a way for me to still care for skin, but also have a personal relationship with clients. Because with the dermatologist, you kind of come in, you read a chart, you give a prescription, you're gone. With the
Yeah.
esthetician, you see these people repeatedly. You get to see the progress yourself. You are hands on with that progress in their skin. And I was like, this is actually more down my alley instead. And so I'm glad I didn't waste the money, because medical school is expensive. I'm
Yes.
glad I didn't waste that money, which kudos to anybody who can. I just knew realistically it wasn't a path where I was really going to thrive in, just confidently. I'm glad I found that. So yeah, I would go to school, and then Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, I would go to esthetician school from 5 to 10 p.m. at night.
Oh,
On
wow.
weekdays, yeah, and then on Saturdays, I had it from 8 a.m. to 4. So that was a long, a long process of working and working after work, but it was worth it.
That's good. That's good. So is the YouTube channel will be based off of just that, or like what is going to be the YouTube channel?
So that's a good question. So the YouTube channel will have a little bit of skin and makeup, but also a lifestyle brand. I did get married, so my last name before, of course, as you know, is Gordine, and so I'm
Hmm.
going to be incorporating my husband into that channel. So it's more going to be family, lifestyle, and kind of all of that together.
I love it. So I can't wait.
Thank
I'm
you.
definitely subscribing.
Thank you.
No problem.
You're looking for a video soon, because that's what we're setting up. And I think that's why I said, like, we're in the process of moving. We just need to get settled first. And that's the first thing on our list, to go ahead and get that started.
No problem. Well, I would like to thank Brandi for even coming on the show. I've been trying to get her on the show forever.
Literally forever. And I'm sorry. That's why I was like, I'm doing it this time, because I'm not going to keep playing with him. He's probably thinking, she just, no, that's that. I'm doing it this time. I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me and being patient with me as well.
No problem. No problem. Well, thank you everyone for even watching the episode. Just like I said, we'll have more episodes for the Black Kings and Black Queens project just coming up these next few weeks, as well as the panel that we're going to plan for either like at the end of the month or the beginning of next month. So stay tuned to that, and we'll talk to you later.
Yes, thank
No problem.
you.